Hey, what is going on, IK Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder. We are back again, Bob the Buildering it up like never before in Infinity Kingdom. We're going to be taking a look at now our newest element lineup for the most used ToK skills series. Next up is Lightning, and we're going to be starting with Peter. Yes, that also means that we're going to round it out with the big Shabuya Bang of Fire. Today is Peter the Great. Okay. Let's go ahead and take a look at Peter's most used skills, as always, starting off with all the skill sets and the data that we collected. Keep in mind, for context, as we always say, all of the data that we gathered, thankfully with Lightning, more people run Lightning than Wind, who would have thunk it? And with that, we were able to capture 45 data points up to S18. Essentially, how we do it is we have a minimum threshold of 160k power. You have to be maining Lightning. It can't be an off element, and then there's just one or two Lightnings there, right? You have to be running Lightning Dragon. There has to be at least 3 Lightning Immortals ran at minimum in order for us to pull the data for those immortals, along with the minimum troop power being 160k. So here it is. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look as I'm scrolling, just for pausing effect, in case anybody wants to while the video is going, so you can look. As always, there will be a link to these docs, or to this doc in the description and the pinned comment, as there is for all of these most used ToK skill videos. Let's go into the top 3. Number 3 most used skill on Peter is Berserk. This is being used 16 times, so a little over a third out of 45. The reason why we didn't do a 4th and 5th is because the remaining skills were only being used about 6 or 7 times, so I just felt it was a little more appropriate to focus on the top 3 here. Number 2 most used skill, Cleave, being used 20 times, almost half. Number 1 most used skill on your boy Peter, the Emperor of all of Russia. The Demidov of Russia. Okay, Fighting Will. Used 23 times, a little bit closer now to 1 point over half. So again, these top 3 being used by far and away the most out of the other skills that we did see, even used a little bit more than a handful of times. Now, let us transition and go in-game so we can show you Peter, do some stats, and then break down the top 3 skills being used on Peter, give you our thoughts, and then hear from the fam. Okay, Peter's skill, Mighty Thunder. Purifies the enemy targets directly ahead, so it's a row, dispelling all buffs and inflicting physical damage of a rate of 165 up to 550. For stats, strength, being a little bit more focused on physical. As you can tell here, physical attack is almost 2.5 times magic attack. Now, magic defense, shockingly, is decently high, being a little bit more than physical defense here, but still being more physical attack and physical damage prone, or more of an advantage. Now let's take a look at the ToK skills for the most used. We'll focus with Berserk first. Berserk increases the attack speed of all your units by 3% and restores a small amount of HP with every successful normal attack. Each immortal can only equip 1, as this is considered an aura skill. Increased attack speed. Always got to get at least a solid yawn. 3% to 10%. Recovery rate of 9% to 30%. And from here, this, to me, I think just makes sense. Again, it is more physical attack focused based on his auto, but given that Peter has a high physical damage rate, going with the attack speed increase and heal regeneration, or I should say HP recovery, the kind of lifesteal vampirism effect that you get from a frontline unit, does make sense here on Peter. Next, we're going to take a look at Cleave, which is the comet imploding into the earth. Every normal attack has a 75% chance of causing extra physical damage. There's a factor here of 22.5 to 75% to 2 nearby enemy units. So here, Again, you're combining Berserk with Cleave. You're giving Peter a little bit more attack speed as a frontline unit. I like the Berserk Cleave combo. I think they do play well together. Along with attaching it onto a high physical, or I should say, your highest physical damage within your front line. Again, you probably could argue that you could put it backline as well, but I think this works still with Peter, based on his skill, the stats, and then the combo here between Berserk and Cleave. Now let's look at Fighting Will, which is the guy with his arms punt up. Give me the Arnold. Every 20% in the number of soldiers will deal physical damage to all enemy units, right? So this is the skill that procs 4 times. Every time you hit 20% heal drops at 80, 60, 40, and 20% HP, or troop loss if you want to look at it that way. Now, again, this is going to deal physical damage to all enemies and has a 13.5 to 45% chance of rooting them for 6 seconds. So Fighting Will at max level, right, with almost a 50% root chance is not bad, along with the AoE damage rate that it's giving when you, again, up to those 4 times throughout the fight, from 45 up to 150%. So again, I mean, I like this. I think Fighting Will is a standard skill and something that is more universal, specifically that you can run this on a good amount of immortals. Now, let's say that there's not a delay, right? You could arguably run this on a, semi-squishy frontline, and you could get 4 immediate procs pretty quick. Now, I think it's a little better overall to try and run this on someone who's a little bit more tankier, just because if you run this on someone who is super squishy as an immortal, then what happens if it procs, a root hits, but then within 4 or 5 seconds he's down another 20%? Not to say that that is going to happen every single time, but it is something to think about, because 6 seconds is a decent amount of time. It's not 2 or 3. With that being said, that pretty much is it for us rounding out Peter. Let me know what you think in those comments down below. Do you like these top 3 most used skills on Peter? Do you use these yourself? If you're someone who runs Peter, what skills do you like on Peter that you think complements him in a lightning lineup, or even if you're running him mixed? Again, I'd love to know and hear from any of you that are running lightning, or even so running Peter. Let me know down there. That is it for us. Hopefully we're going to be cranking these lightning immortals out across the next 4 days to give you the 5 epics, and then if there is no delay, we'll get right into Fire to round out the most used ToK series, and then we'll try and maybe look at doing Shadow a little bit of the ways down the road, given that you're now able to complete that 4-man march, along with then eventually doing Holy, which is the newest addition to a 4-man march. But we might wait for a few more to come out there, along with allowing some people to max out some of the Shadow Immortals, just so we can give you more accurate coverage on their most used ToK skills. That's it. I'm Dunsky. We will catch y'all later.